Tammy, just testing. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine. I can hear you. Can you hear me? There's a delay.
Oh, there we go. Tammy, can we try that again? Can you hear me okay? There we go. Tammy, can we try that again? Can you hear me okay?
Do you want to try one more time?
Yeah, go ahead. I can hear you very clearly. I was wondering if I'm coming through okay.
Do you want to try one more time? Okay, I figured out the problem. I had the video was playing back after. So I think we're good now.
Oh, thank you. So I can hear you very well.
Good. I'm going to take this off the screen.
Okay. And Tammy, can you go live now?
Okay, I will start recording. Oh, sorry, I'm on a different screen. I'm not seeing it. One moment.
I don't see it saying it's recording.
Yes, I don't have a record button tonight. This is very strange. I can record to cloud, but that's not what I'm looking for. Let's see.
What is the one up in the corner live on YouTube?
Live on YouTube, that is playing live, but it doesn't record. There's a separate record button usually.
Okay, well, let's take our time and make sure we get that.
Mhm. Let me close something. There we go.
Okay. Oh. Good evening. The November 18th, 2021 Whatcom County Planning Commission meeting is called to order. I'll call the roll. Please say if you are here. Robert Bartel.
Here.
Kelvin Barton, that's me. I am here. Atul Deshmani.
Here.
Jim Hansen. Jim Hansen. Okay, not seeing him here. Stephen Jackson.
Here.
Kimberly Lund.
Here.
John Mayberry. John Mayberry. Not seeing him. Natalie McClendon
Here.
and Dominic Masseri. Dominic Messeri, not seeing him. Okay. Please join me for the flag salute. And Tammy will post a flag here on the screen for us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our department update is being canceled tonight. Mark is unable to be with us this evening. So, and then now is the time for open session for public comment. And this would be to comment on things that are not on our agenda tonight. And our planning commissioner coordinator, Tammy, will read how to proceed, how to raise your hand and the rules about speaking. So go ahead, Tammy.
Okay, this meeting is being broadcast live. We welcome you to the meeting. The audio is being recorded and will be posted to the county website. Members of the public may join the meeting online or by phone. If you are watching live and wish to join the meeting, please go to the link listed on the screen previously. Instructions on how to join the meeting are at the bottom of the web page from which you chose the link to watch the meeting now. So you should be able to go back one in your browser. During the open public comment session, speakers may not speak to items that are scheduled on the agenda for a public hearing tonight, items that have had a public hearing and are still under deliberation by the Planning Commission also may not be spoken to in this particular session. If there's anyone who would like to provide public comment at this time, please virtually raise your hand to request to speak. If you're using the internet, you can press the hand icon. If you're calling by phone, please press *9 to raise your hand. Okay, we do have someone who has raised their hand, so I'm going to give a couple of instructions. Speakers will be called on by name, and when called on, you press the microphone symbol to unmute yourself, or *6 if you called in. Please state your full name for the record. Direct all comments to the chair. Each speaker has 3 minutes to speak. The screen timer will show when your 3-minute speaking time is up. Staff may also announce time or mute your microphone. Okay. So, oh, the hand went down. Penny, would you like to speak? Okay, your hand is back up. One moment, I'm going to allow Penny to talk. And Penny, if you could hold 1 moment, I'll start the timer and then I'll have you state your full name. All right, go ahead, Penny.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I wanted to practice, and I don't see any faces. Is everybody's visual covered, or?
Sure, I'll answer part of that, Penny. Some of it, I'm not certain why the faces aren't showing, but sometimes what's happening right now is our planning coordinator is doing screen sharing. And so right now faces, some faces won't show at all. And that will be part of it. But sometimes down at the bottom, if you click on participants, sometimes they will pop up. But sometimes they don't. And then we have had a couple instances where, since we're doing Zoom, some of our commission members have had small children show up in the background of the screen. And so some of the members are trying to make sure that doesn't happen. So they leave their screen off. And I hope that makes sense to you.
Yeah, I do a lot of Zoom conferencing, and I noticed that last night on one of my conferences, the kids were jumping on the couch in the background. Is this Robert that's talking to me?
This is Kelvin that's talking.
Oh, Kelvin. Okay. Okay. So can you guys see me?
I cannot see you right now, but let me just see. Oh,
Penny, this doesn't have the capacity to show your video. It will be audio only.
Okay. Okay, so you guys are on audio only also?
some of us, we do show, you should see my face on there. It was on when the meeting started. But as I say,
Okay.
sometimes depending on what we put up on the screen, it makes the video of the commission members are not able to be shown. But you'll see me here again in just a few moments.
Okay. Okay, well, that answered a lot of things. And then, so throughout, there's three people on the agenda tonight. Am I number one?
You are showing us the first one on the agenda, and we are going to look forward to hearing from you.
And so will I be asked questions, or if I feel the need to ask a question, will that be allowed? How does that work?
Well, if you raise your hand, that would, we are allowed to call on you, and we may ask you questions, or we may find that your application is pretty straightforward. And we did see the
Okay.
letter you sent through today, so we might be asking you a little more about that letter.
Okay, that sounds great. Okay. Okay. All right. Sounds good. I appreciate you having me be number one.
Okay. Thank you, Penny.
Thank you.
All right, and Penny, you should be seeing some faces now at the top of your screen.
Yeah, I am not. I see names and, I see Robert, Natalie, Atul, Kelvin, but I don't see any names. I mean, no faces.
So I would say
Um,
myself and Natalie and Commissioner McClendon, Commissioner Deshmani, and Planning Coordinator Tammy are both all showing there. And then there is a little blue arrow. When I click that, I see Commissioner Jackson and Commissioner Bartel.
oh,
You may
well,
need to modify your view within Zoom. If you click in the top right corner of your screen, it looks like a little, it says view, and you can modify, and that may be what you need to do to see our faces tonight.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I guess I see Zoom. I'm not sure how to do all that. So I guess I'm just lucky that I can hear everybody.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. And we will hear more from you in a little bit.
Okay, thank you.
Tammy, would you please continue? See if there's any more to speak.
All right, would anyone, others attendees like to speak to the open public session? If you would like to speak, please raise your hand. You can use your hand icon if you're on the computer, or *6. I mean, sorry, *9 too, if you're calling in.
Okay. So I'm not seeing any other attendees that would like to speak. So let's move on to commissioner comments. Any commissioner comments? Commissioner Deshmani.
I just wanted to disclose that Penny Friedman called me. I know Penny Friedman. She stayed at my house for approximately a year as a tenant, and I wanted to disclose that to the Planning Commission. We have over the years stayed in touch, and depending on what the Commission feels comfortable with, I could omit myself from the vote related to Penny's property. I don't believe it's a formal violation of policy for me to participate, but I just wanted to disclose that.
Thank you. Commissioner McClendon.
First off, can we make sure that the attendees are muted? I just wanted to make sure the commission knows, and maybe people listening at home, that my term expires at the end of January. I am term limited. It will be a full 8 years, believe it or not. And so there'll be a position in District 5 open, and I hope we get somebody new and who will contribute to this body successfully. The other thing that I just wanted to let all of you know, because I consider you all my friends now, is that I'm moving to Yakima, probably somewhere in January. I may attend my last meeting remotely from there, but anyway, I'm gonna miss being on the commission, but I've got new adventures to experience. So anyway.
All right, I wanted to take a moment under commissioner comment. We had a topic come up here 2 or 3 meetings ago, and many of us were wondering if we could get just a little more information. And I wanted to talk about, there's motion charts. So I just wanted to talk about one that we could have used, and I'm not saying we should have, but we could have. And it's called postpone to a certain time. And we could have taken that topic and we could have made a motion to, let's say, postpone it to the next meeting. So that would be a motion to postpone to the next meeting. That would be a certain time. And it's just a tool we have where we know that we're not dropping something, that we want to take care of it, but that we, there is a tool to do that. And we could have made that motion. And I just wanted to share that with everyone, and we can keep that in our toolkit. So are there any others that would like, any other commissioners during commissioner comments? Okay, seeing none, let's move on to approval of minutes from October 28th.
Excuse me, Kelvin.
Yes.
I just got a text from Jim Hansen. He needs the link. He can't find it. If Tammy could resend it to him.
I'll send it to him right now.
Okay.
Right, okay. Thank you. So we have approval of minutes for October 28th.
I'd make a motion to approve the minutes of the October 28th, 2021 meeting.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there discussion, corrections? Anybody have comments on that? Okay, I'm not seeing anybody with comments or corrections. So let's go ahead. Tammy, would you call the roll, please?
I will. And then could we pause for a moment? So I'm going to have to send Jim an attendee link and then upgrade him to a participant.
Let's hold on that vote for a moment, Tammy, and go ahead and send him the link.
Okay, thank you.
We'll miss you, Natalie.
I bought a house yesterday.
Ooh,
Yeah. What's this?
That's exciting.
Yeah.
I'm happy for you.
Me too, Natalie. I'm excited to see what you do in your next chapter.
Well, you start young enough. Don't wait till you're feeble.
does that beer related opportunity extend to people that visit you in Yakima?
I'll buy anybody a drink, yeah. Although I was corrected by my son that if you live there, you don't get free beer all the time, which I'm not surprised. Depends on how much you hang out there.
So he cut his mom off, huh?
What?
No unlimited beers even for mom, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, I have sent him the participant link. I'll watch for him to come on as attendee. Would you like me to wait to do the roll call? He didn't hear the motion or anything.
Let's go ahead with the roll call so
Okay.
that we can continue on.
Okay,
Thank you.
and I was focused on that, so may I know who actually made the motion and who seconded, please?
It was Commissioner Bartel and made the motion, and Commissioner Desmani made the second.
Okay, thank you. That's what I thought, but I wasn't positive. All right, I will do the roll call. So for the approval of the meeting minutes, Commissioner Bartel,
Yes.
Commissioner Desmani,
Yes.
we don't have Commissioner Hanson yet. Commissioner Jackson?
Abstain.
Okay. Commissioner Lund?
Yes.
Commissioner McClendon?
Yes.
Commissioner Masseri? Oh, I don't think we have him yet. No.
We don't.
And Commissioner Barton?
Yes.
Okay, so that is 5 yeses and 1 abstaining, so that carries. Thank you for your patience with that.
Okay. So we are to our topic for the night, and that will be Josh Fleshman doing the presentation. So Josh, go ahead.
All right. I'm going to do a quick screen share to the PowerPoint presentation. If you could let me know if you see a PowerPoint.
It's there.
Excellent. All right, so I'm here today to have a meeting and public hearing on the 2020 open space applications. So I thought I'd start off with a little bit of history about the program. It was a 1970 open space taxation, was enacted over concerns of conversion of resource lands, shorelines, wetlands, scenic vistas, historical sites, and recreation opportunities. And what this did was allow counties to assess the value of a property at its current use, not its highest and best use. What this would do is result in a reduced taxes for the landowner and act as an incentive to preserve land as open space. So here's a map of where these property tax reduction program parcels are. Designated forest land and farm and agricultural land are administered by the assessor's office. You see them in the very light green polygons and the darker green polygons in the areas where you would expect forest land as well as agriculture. And then we have the open space land and open space land, farm and agricultural conservation land in the red and the teal spread throughout the county. So when an application comes in, the process for the applications is that I, as PDS staff, would evaluate in accordance with the public benefit rating system and come up with a recommendation to the Planning Commission. At that point, there would be a recommendation from you as the Planning Commission to the County Council to approve in whole, in part, or to deny the individual applications. From there, the County Council would approve in whole, in part, or deny the individual applications. Upon completion of an open space tax agreement, the assessor would make adjustments to the assessed value and notify the owners of the new value. So a little bit about the open space policy and public benefit rating system. It is a qualitative, not a quantitative scoring system with a range of potential points relative to the benefit provided to the public. These points are entered into a formula or the public benefit rating, with a minimum public benefit rating score of 45 required for a staff recommendation of approval. This score or this public benefit rating is used to arrive at the new current use per acre value. One of the components of open space land is that public access is required. This requirement for public access may be waived by the county or by the county council for known habitat, endangered species, known archaeological sites, or for wetland conservation. This year we have 3 applications before you. You may have noticed in the packet that came, there were 4. One applicant withdrew their application within the past week. So we only have 3 applications for you today. And here is a map of where they are. We have Donald and Barbara Taylor off of Hannigan Road, just south of Axton. We have Penny Friedman off of Birch Bay Linden Road, just to the east of Kickerville. And we have the Whatcom Land Trust off of Blaine Road, just south of California Creek. So the first application today that I was going to talk about would be Penny Friedman's application. This is for a 26.93 acre parcel, 25.33 of which would be enrolled in open space land. This application got a public benefit rating of 44.975. Here is the public benefit rating evaluation form used for developing the score. Here is a picture of her property, the aerial view, as you can see, north of Birch Bay Linden Road and west of Kickerville. And a couple of maps, you'll be able to see its relationship to California Creek. That is the kind of the odd meander on the east side of the property. Here you can see where it is. It's in the surrounding zones. It's R10 zoning. It's got R5 zoning to the east and the west. Birch Bay urban growth area and the UR4 zoning is to the southwest, and the RAM between Portalway and I-5 is there to the northeast. And here is a map of the property with the ecosystem layers. You can see the 100-year floodplain and the shoreline jurisdiction associated with California Creek. You can also see some surficial aquifers located over by Kickerville Road. And then we have some modeled wetlands as well as delineated wetlands on her property. Here are a couple of pictures of it. And then I guess at this point, I would ask, it sounds like Penny has, do you want to wait until my presentation is complete?
Yeah, so let's go ahead and wait for your
Okay.
presentation, Josh, to be complete.
And so the next application is for Donald and Barbara Taylor. They have 13.83 acre parcels. About 12.83 acres would be enrolled in open space land. Public benefit rating score of 39.37. Here is their evaluation form. Here's their property. It's an odd shaped one. We got Hannigan Road and Axton to the north and Hannigan to the east. It is zoned R5, and to the northwest, you can see that there's a designated mineral resource land overlay in the R5 zoning. And for some reason, I have it saying Noon Road instead of Hannigan Road. I assure you it is Hannigan Road. And then here's the ecosystem map. We have some modeled wetlands and some delineated wetlands within the property. I believe that flows into Deer Creek further downstream. Here's a picture of the property. And finally, the last application is the Whatcom Land Trust. That is for a 22.5 acre parcel, all of which would be enrolled in open space land, had a public benefit rating of 83.40. Here's their evaluation form. And here's their map of the aerial image. It's on Blaine Road, just south of California Creek. It actually borders California Creek. It is zoned R10. Just a couple hundred feet to the south is zoned R5, and then just shy of 1,000 feet to the southwest is the Birch Bay urban growth area and the UR4 zoning. Then here on the ecosystem map, you can see the 100-year floodplain and the shoreline jurisdiction for California Creek, as well as some delineated and modeled wetlands and surficial aquifers just to the south. There's a couple of pictures of the property. All right, and that's it. I'm ready for any questions.
Okay. Are there any questions for Josh? Okay, seeing none, Josh, would you hold on for us? We are to have a public hearing and followed by a work session. So let's go ahead and open the public hearing. And as we do that for our attendees, for Penny and Alex, Jeffers, this would be the time for you to talk. So we'll open the public hearing. Penny Friedman, go ahead. I'm sorry, let's wait. Tammy, let me back up a moment. Tammy, go ahead and take over with this like we have been doing lately, please.
Okay, I don't believe anybody new has joined since we went over the instructions, so I will just remind you to please state your full name for the record. You will have 3 minutes to speak, and if the 3-minute timer expires and you are still speaking and don't see it, we will remind you that your time is up and we may mute your microphone. So Penny, you may go ahead.
Thank you for your presentation, Josh. It was very thorough and complete. I know you've worked really hard on this work you've been doing. I wanted to ask if my benefit rating of 44.9 is going to be rounded up to 45.
So, and Josh, did you hear that question? And actually her benefit rating is 44.975.
Yeah. You know, I try not to, as I've said before, it's a qualitative, not a quantitative rating system. It's not as easy as throwing some numbers in. So what I've tried to do is create some level of consistency. You know, if a category is worth 10 points and there's 6 criteria, you know, 10 divided by 6, that's how many each bullet point within that category is worth. And I just do that so that way, you know, I'm as transparent as possible. I'm as objective as I can be, and, you know, not try to bring my feelings in. So if, you know, I grade everyone the same. So if I have a friend come in and apply for this program, you know, and I deny them, it's clear, like I'm trying to put numbers into a qualitative program. So, you know, when I process it, that's the number I came up with. I realize how incredibly very close it is to 45. I wouldn't have plans of rounding it, but at the same time, you know, that's what's required for a staff recommendation. I don't know that there's any reason that you couldn't approve it based on how close it is to 45, but I try to not manipulate the numbers just because I want to be as objective and as consistent with those numbers in a qualitative scoring system as possible.
Okay, so if I didn't get enough points technically, theoretically, then all this application and all this work that I wouldn't get to keep my open space and get what I'm asking for. Is that true?
So it comes down to the ultimate decision will be made by the county council. And again, the 45 is what's required for a staff recommendation. If the planning commission chose to recommend approval and forward it onto the county council, and the county council were to approve it, then you would get the open space classification. You know, I just, the way that I do the public benefit rating system evaluation forms, the application did not score high enough for me to give a recommendation of approval. That doesn't mean that the planning commission and county council can't. That's just for my staff recommendation point of view.
Okay, I understand, but if they have a rule that it has to be 45, why would they recommend and approve it?
Yeah,
you say they have the power, but would they and could they and have they ever done that?
I believe they have. Just looking at old applications that have come through, but I also have no interest in trying to guess what decision makers will do because you can get thrown for a loop. So I would not try to predict what they can. I would say that it has happened before with ones that were not as close to 45 as yours is.
Okay, so I appreciate that answer. Thank you. So looking at the worksheet that I was sent on the basic value of each item that you quantitatively scored, I noticed I got no percentage for traditional or potential farmland. Lands that have historically been used for agriculture and have not been devoted to a use inconsistent with agricultural uses. Is that true? I received no points for that?
Can you tell, you're looking at the evaluation form?
Yeah, the one, it lists the soil, the comprehensive plan,
Yeah, and so traditional and potential farmland, I have you scoring 15 out of 15.
Oh, okay, all right. Okay, I guess I was reading it wrong. I see that now. Okay, so let me look at the rest of these. Okay. Okay, so yeah, this is a complicated sheet, and so okay, that was one of my questions. So that's good. Okay, let's see. I think, am I allowed to have a second evaluation with a different person? A different person? Am I allowed to have a second evaluation on this basic value that, your work that you did on the public benefit rating? Am I able to have that looked at by a different person?
I don't know. I'm the administrator of the program. I would hesitate for the sole reason of the consistency that I'm trying to build into the program. That being said, you can make the request from council or planning commission to see. I mean, if you have an example of where you think that I've graded your property incorrectly, I'm all ears. I'm happy to listen to that. I've looked at it a couple of times, recognizing how close it is, and knowing that you're hundredths of points away from a staff recommendation of approval. I didn't see anything, but if there's something where you think that you do have a criteria that I did not represent on the scoring sheet, I'm happy to discuss that and consider it, and the planning commission could as well. I don't know why. If they wanted to, if they felt that I misgraded something that you bring up and they want to change the points, I don't have a problem with that. But as far as just getting another staff, there's no other staff at planning that have really processed these before, and they haven't been done consistently in the past, which is part of the reason I'm trying to do it now. So that would be my hesitation.
The speaker's time has expired.
So, Penny, if you would stay on the line there for just a little bit. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Penny Friedman about her application? Commissioner Hanson.
I guess this question is for Penny and or Josh, because the comments about people inappropriately using the property, polluting in garbage and otherwise causing adverse impacts. My question is, will there be any difference in the availability of the property to these adverse impacts if this is granted or not?
I mean, I can try to speak to that just from, my thought process on that. And that would be that, Penny and any of the applicants have the ability to put sidebars on what the rules are on their property. If she doesn't want people camping, she doesn't have to allow people to camp. If she doesn't want fires or, whatever her concerns are, which I understand, she can say that those aren't allowed. And whether it's enrolled, if she's not enrolled in open space and people are, squatting on the property and camping and having fires where they shouldn't be, then they should be trespassed. And if she is enrolled in open space land and these same things are occurring, it seems like she should kick them out, and because they wouldn't be consistent with her rules that she sets up for her property. So, I mean, people that are gonna, treat the property disrespectfully will probably do it if it's enrolled in open space or if it's not. And that's just my comment on that. There are rules that she can put in place, and if they're not being followed, she can have them removed from her property.
Commissioner McClendon.
I'm just curious, since this property includes 100-year flood zone and shoreline jurisdiction and a considerable amount of wetlands, if Penny knows, how much of this is underwater today? Seeing as we've just had a major flood.
Or Monday.
Go ahead, Penny, and answer that. That's fine. Penny, you're not coming through. Are you able to answer that question? It was how much of your property is underwater today from all the flooding?
She's not responding.
She may be having technical problems. I see she's signed in a second time.
Okay.
Okay, there we go. I muted myself.
Yeah, so go ahead. If you can answer, did you hear the question?
I heard the question, but I don't know because I haven't been out there since the flooding has occurred. I lost my connection and I missed everything Josh said about my waiver. And no, I don't know how much flooding is out there. I don't, but there is a significant amount of wetlands out there.
Okay.
And you and Natalie, you said something about 100-year flood zone wetlands, and you said a third thing. What was the third thing you said?
There's shoreline jurisdiction and
Oh yeah, jurisdiction. Okay, yeah. Okay, thank you.
actual and modeled wetlands. I have another question.
Okay.
For Josh, I guess. Oh, now I've forgotten what it was. Never mind. I'll think of it later.
I'm sorry. So Josh mentioned the waiver that, if people violate the public access, I have no way to micromanage that. I can't be a park ranger patrolling 27 acres 24/7. I don't have money for the court system is broken. You cannot get any legal support by Whatcom County Sheriff's or the courthouse for anything. I have been in legal battles for a year over just using my easements to get in and out legally. And Josh says, well, it doesn't matter whether you have open space with public access or you don't. If people are going to violate it, they're going to do it. And I have to enforce all these trespassing laws. There's nothing. I don't have 1 million hours and $1 million to do all that. It's unrealistic. I need protection of this land. I bought the land to preserve it, to clean it up, to keep it natural, to enhance the beauty of the area. Trees prevent flooding. I have 10 acres of trees. I have wild animals. I have the endangered species. No way should the public be tramping and ruining everything back there. It would be awful. It would be awful.
Penny, can you hold there for a minute? And well, let's, several commissioners would like to speak, and I'm sure some of them will have questions for you. Commissioner Bartel, go ahead.
And a question for staff. On the middle of page 10, it talks about the benefit rating system, public access policy to require public access unless, and a whole bunch of stuff, or when the purpose of the open space is for wetland conservation. I was wondering, is there a ruling on this specific piece of property? Is there no public access in this proposal? I saw the 0% for that. And does that mean this should be denied just because of that? Or is there an exception because there's so much wetland that we can work around that?
So I guess I would say that, there are wetlands on the property. There's significant wetlands. They were identified through the subdivision of the property a number of years ago. So there are wetlands on the property. And so if the council chose to waive public access because of the presence of the property, they would certainly be within the bounds of the policies of the public benefit rating system and open space policies. So I don't see any, I can't imagine that would lose a challenge if council waived public access for protection of them. And someone challenged that decision. So I think they would be consistent with the goals of the program and their policies. But public access wasn't proposed. And so that is why the public access component of the scoring sheet had 0.
Commissioner McClendon.
Yeah, I thought of my question. So I'm looking at this property and seeing it being really wet. And I'm wondering why the proposed designation is open space farm and agricultural conservation land. Why it's getting 15 out of 15 for traditional or potential farmland. It doesn't look like good farmland to me at all. And I don't really understand why that's the route.
Yeah, so this is a reclassification from open space agriculture. Open space agriculture is the tax classification administered by the assessor's office. That is the more traditional commercial agriculture. You have to have verified income to be in that program. And when a property is transferred, the seller would need to show documentation that they are continuing to meet the requirements of the open space ag program. At the time, they were not. And so there were 2 options: 1, pay the back taxes, or 2, apply for reclassification to open space farm and agricultural conservation land. And that's essentially an open space classification where the land could be returned to commercial purposes at some point in the future. It hasn't been put to use and compatible with returning it to agriculture. So that is the classification. And when it goes from that classification, there's a different scoring sheet that represents its previous use as agriculture.
And how much I'm missing, there are things in various places in the packet. What is the tax shift for this if we approved it? Is this the 1277?
It would be 705.
705, the taxes would go down.
Would go up. Yeah, so
Go
open,
up.
yes.
Oh,
open
because
space-
it's a lesser category than the farm, the ag, yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
designated forest land is, I guess, has the greatest reduction in taxes under the designated forest land program, followed by the open space agriculture, the commercial agriculture. And so then transferring it to this classification would result in increased taxes just because it's already has low taxes.
Okay, and if it were denied, she would have to pay back taxes and the taxes would go up to what? Do we know?
I can see, I feel like Penny asked the assessor's office that question at some point. I do not know off the top of my head what that would be.
I think she said it would be like regular residential, like people that have utilities and they live on it with a home, and it would be unaffordable. 7 years in that category would be awful, and it would be a lot. It would be a lot.
Right. Josh, I'm not seeing other hands here. I have a question for you. It's probably not maybe it's a rhetorical question, but how much, maybe I should ask this, how far is this property distance-wise from Birch Bay Linden Road? Can you give an idea of that?
Yeah. Just you're talking about just from the southern property boundary?
Correct.
From the east easement, it's about 1,500 feet.
Okay. All right. And thank you, Penny. And for that information. The reason I'm asking is I know that a tremendous amount of water just went through there this last week. And I know that enough water that there is a big hole across Birch Bay Linden Road, and Birch Bay Linden Road is going to be closed for a significant length of time till they figure out how to put the appropriate culverts or bridge or something, because it's all gone. There's an enormous hole out there right now. So, but
yes, that's true.
And,
so yeah, that's true.
Okay, and Penny, if you at this time in our process, if you can just wait, and we'll ask you the questions. You've provided great information, and we'll ask you for additional questions.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, sure. Commissioner Desmonte, go ahead.
This is a question for staff. It has to do with this issue that was, I wanted to clarify that this property was purchased recently. Is that correct?
It was a little over a year ago, like spring of 2020.
So a prior owner can transfer liability for taxes to a new owner?
Yep, that's part of the agreement. So the person selling the property applies for the classification, and then in order, the purchaser of the property would essentially sign an affidavit for the assessor's office saying that they, as the purchaser, are accepting and taking over the application and all of the, all the
risk associated with that.
Yep.
Another question I had is regarding the issues around open space land. And is it a common question or concern raised by people who are shifting into or have open space land, the I'm not a park ranger clause? I'm wondering, could you talk a little bit about that, what examples of that are, and what you say to people when they raise that concern to you?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think there are a number of people that see the benefit of, to them of paying the reduced taxes, but also don't want, public access to the property. It's their property, and they want, to feel safe there and not have, essentially strangers, walking around their property, even if it's with notice. So yeah, there's definitely people that, write or call with interest in the program, and, ultimately do or don't decide to move forward with the public access component. So I think there's the management of it. In theory, if there's reasonable limitations on what public access looks like, I think most people would hopefully be fairly respectful of those expectations and not litter and not do these things that are undesirable. I haven't heard too many people, contacting me with issues about that. I think the biggest example that I've read about was down at Clark's Point, down in Bellingham by Tedder Cove. I believe that historically there have been issues there where those landowners got in contact with the city and tried to find, because kids would go down there and party and there's cliffs. And so that's the one example that I can think of, but I still don't understand in totality where that one lasted because of all of the history and applications and the 150 pages of back and forth from 8 different years and multiple different staff. So I don't know what the ultimate outcome of that is, but that's the only example that I can think of where there have been concerns.
So just to summarize what you're saying then, as far as on the one side, the open space process is one that has an inherent attribute to it. And then on the other point that you're making is that people who have open space land, although there's a potential of misbehavior on the land, it's not something you're very familiar with or can talk about many examples, particularly out in the county.
Correct.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hanson.
Okay, thanks. Sorry if I'm not following this closely enough, but I see 2 issues. One is whether this property is appropriate for open space, and it seems to me it certainly would be. And the other one would be, if it is granted that status, will it be granted a waiver from the public access provision for the open space? Is that correct? Are there 2 separate issues?
Yes.
Okay, so I guess we would need to know from Ms. Friedman whether she would be willing to go ahead and put it into this status if the waiver is not obtained. And just a personal question, I'm scratching my head. What do you want the property for in the first time if it's going to be an open space? And it sounds like it's more of a detriment to your life than a benefit.
You want me to answer now?
Yes, please go ahead, Penny. That'd be great.
Okay, sure. Thank you. So it's not just about privacy. It is about really truly preserving the land in its natural state for the beauty and the benefit of the community. It has sensitive resources, which means it's connected and it butts up next to it has a second here. Yeah, so it's got sensitive resources, and it means it butts up next to other important areas. It has a protected shoreline. It has protected wetlands, and it has endangered species, the salmon. So it's not so much about privacy as much as it is to protect it from people that are. I have a very strong. I really believe that it would be. It could easily be abused and misused. I have a high degree of certainty. I have a high degree of certainty that people would want to go fishing. They'd want to, weave down to the California Creek, and so I feel with, everything I wrote in my letter that it would really jeopardize. And the thing is, you do allow waivers for these specific things. And these are the specific things that I mentioned. The property, I don't see anything as being a detriment. everything is everything I've ever wanted and looked for in land for the last 25 years. I wanted forest, I wanted wetlands. The creek was just an absolute bonus. And I know that the man who lost the property told me at one point he cut a bunch of the grass and the plants and everything along the shoreline, and he got in big trouble. He got fined. He had to replace it. He wasn't allowed to touch any of it. He was trying to, I don't know if he was trying to clear an area or make a path or whatever, but somebody came down hard on him and he got in big trouble. So I don't live there. I live in Auburn, and I'm only there for a short while, about once a month. So there's no way that I can manage the safety of the land other than a very limited amount of time.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner McClendon.
So I just wanted to give a little bit of experience on the public access. I have about 3 acres on my 5-acre lot that is in the open space program. We're kind of grandfathered in and don't have a lot of benefits, so we don't get a lot of tax break. But nobody's ever asked to go look at it ever in 8 years we've lived here. The other thing is that I noticed that this property is off the road, so there would be no sign on the road. I don't know where the access is, but it wouldn't need to be posted except at the property line, wherever the access is. But in listening to Ms. Friedman about this, about her interests, it seems to me that if it's not a piece of land that she wants to live on, and she's just owning it for preservation, that I would think that some kind of conservation easement with the Whatcom Land Trust or something where they would manage the property. It does seem to me really great to get that one side of California Creek in some kind of a protected status. And it doesn't seem to me to be particularly good for farmland. I'm not sure. I mean, if you have the money to buy a big chunk of land like this and then can't pay the taxes on it, I guess that's a different issue. But yeah, it just seems like there's some other preservation possibilities if it's not about owning and living on the land to have a private space. So yeah, I'm not sure where that leaves me on.
Well, I didn't say I never wanted to live there. I'm actively working as a nurse, and I'm just not in the area. I don't have work up there. And so I didn't say I never wanted to live there. I just said I'm not living there now. And yeah, and I wouldn't, I just want you to be not arbitrary and not capricious as far as the waiver. It should be objective. And I feel the waivers are given for specific reasons, and I meet all the criteria. But I wouldn't want to not get the open space because you are afraid I won't take the public access thing that you want me to take. I mean, if I was going to not get the open space and get it, of course I would take it. I don't want you to not give it to me because of that, but I just want you to really consider my waiver because I meet all the criteria for a waiver.
So, and Penny, thank you. And let me move along here. And I think you'll find that the Planning Commission will really carefully consider this. I have been here, I'm second in seniority to Commissioner McClendon, and I've watched the commissioners do a really wonderful job of working with the public. And I think you'll find that they're very interested in conservation and in your issue. Josh, go ahead though. You have your hand up.
Yeah, so just a couple of things. One, Natalie, you were talking about other options for preservation. Penny's parcel was part of an APO cluster short plat, and as part of the subdivision, critical areas are protected. Critical areas and their buffers are protected with a conservation easement. So the wetlands and buffers are protected with a conservation easement right now. It's not dedicated to the Whatcom Land Trust. Whatcom Land Trust, my understanding, and Alex could correct me later, my understanding is that if the land trust has an easement on a property, as opposed to owning it outright, like this one before you tonight is, they don't manage a property that they have an easement on. They hold the easement, but they don't actively manage it. And then I just want to talk about the process maybe a little bit more as you're weighing, approval and public access. If it was the case where you as the Planning Commission recommended approval to the County Council, and however, regardless of whether you were to recommend approval or to recommend waiving public access or not, I would go to the County Council. The County Council is the ultimate decision maker. And when they make the decision to approve or deny or approve with or without waiving public access, that's where Penny would decide whether or not she wanted to move forward with public access. So if this commission recommended approval and recommended waiving public access, and they got to the County Council and the County Council approved it but didn't waive public access, she doesn't have to sign the open space agreement. At that point it would be sign it and have public access, or don't sign it and not have the Kearney's classification. So when you get to the council, there's a little bit of, that's when Penny can weigh her decision or weigh her options.
Thank you, Josh. Commissioner Desmani.
I just want to ask Josh another question. So Josh, does this open space designation, how does it impact the preservation and protection of the land, or does it?
I think if people are using it as responsible citizens and respecting what Penny does and doesn't want to happen on her property, it's really passive recreation, the types of things that most people identify as what their property's for: walking the trails, maybe, catching frogs in the wetlands, and light impact trails. It may just be, if it's reed canary grass, maybe a mow a 4-foot wide swath so there's a walking trail, or kind of like deer trails where, like, oh, there's the trail that's just kind of through the brush. Those are the types of activities that, most people are envisioning as they're writing up their rules, for nature observation, bird watching, wildlife observation, things like that. So the impact on the critical areas themselves is basically foot traffic, and that's the type of thing that we just see regularly within lands that are protected with conservation easements from anyone that has property and has kids. The kids are going to be running around and playing back in there. So those are the types of impacts I would see on the land. Passive foot-based recreation.
Did you answer the question of how the open space designation changes that utilization?
Changes that what?
Changes how an owner utilizes their property? That's really what I was asking.
How does it change how they utilize their property? I would say generally speaking, they would, I mean, are you asking as far as like development of their property or?
Including development, yeah. How
Yeah,
does
I mean, I guess I would say, you know, right now, if someone were to buy 5 acres of raw land in Whatcom County, they would have 5 acres and be enrolled in open space land. They would have 5 acres that are taxed at their current use open space. And then at some point in the future, if they were to apply to build a home, generally speaking, the assessor takes out 1 acre from that 5 acres and taxes 1 acre as, you know, market value, highest and best use as residential, and the other 4 acres would still be enrolled in open space at the reduced taxes. So, you know, I think at some point, if that person that had the 1 acre, you know, every year chopped down an acre of trees and then put in an outbuilding and then cut down an acre of trees and put in a sport court and just slowly chipped away at what was open space, then it would, you know, be in violation of the open space agreement where those types of activities, you know, wouldn't be without removing it from open space. And you could still opt to do all those things and remove it from open space. But those are the types of activities that wouldn't be consistent with the goals and the intent of open space land. So, you know, what it does or doesn't allow them to do on their property, I mean, it's kind of up to them. If they choose to use their property in a way that would result in it not meeting the intent of open space, they can, and they can remove it from open space classification. You know, did that answer that at all?
Yeah, it does. It really, basically, it says that it doesn't really have a direct impact. It's a response related to basically taxation of the property of the county related to taxation of the property.
Commissioner McClendon.
I'd like to add that if they choose to change the land use and they don't qualify anymore, they have to pay 7 years back taxes of the discount that they got. And that's an incentive to keep it there. But it's not,
Yeah.
but it's not a, you know, I mean, if you can suddenly, you decide that you're going to build something and make more money on that, it's worth paying the difference.
Commissioners, what would you like to do? Commissioner Bartel.
It's 25 thousandths of a point, which is really close. And for me, that 45 or more makes it a pretty straightforward decision that I would be leaning towards approval unless there's something really unusual there with the staff recommendation. This one being so close, I'm still leaning towards just rounding up and approving and then letting things fall where they may with the public access. I would feel a lot better going into this decision if the public access was already, you know, agreed to, but I realize we're not going to get there tonight. So for that reason, I'm leaning towards approval, and I would make a motion to approve this and recommend to a council for approval.
I would second that.
Right, we have a motion and a second to recommend to council for approval. And I see Commissioner Hansen's hand is up. Go ahead, Commissioner Hansen.
Just my question is the application already couched in the stipulation that there will be no public access, or are there two things to vote on.
Question, Josh, could you answer that for us?
I guess I would say that there's only one thing to vote on, and that's, whether or not to recommend approval of the application to county council. I don't see any reason that you couldn't also recommend accepting the waiver request from the applicant. It seems like something, if that's something you guys wanted to support, you could.
In that case, can we have separate votes on those two issues?
Yes, we can. Okay. Is there discussion on the motion that's on the floor to recommend approval to the council? Not seeing any hands up, seeing no hands. Tammy, would you call the roll, please?
Certainly. Commissioner Bartel,
Yes.
Commissioner Desmani,
Yes.
Commissioner Hanson,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Oh,
Commissioner Lund,
Yes.
Commissioner McClendon,
Yes.
Commissioner Barton.
Yes.
Okay, that is 6 yeses and 1 no, so that carries.
I have a question for the chair.
Yes, go ahead, Commissioner.
So for motions to pass, we need to have 5 votes in favor, correct? Even though there's 3 commissioners that are not present?
It would depend on, sorry, and perhaps Commissioner McClendon can help me with this, but there are some things that are a majority and there are others that we send on to council with recommendation, and those generally take 5 votes, 5 yes
It's
votes.
just a procedural vote. It's just majority.
Yeah.
But if it's an official action of the body, it has to be a majority of 9.
Right, thank you.
Which one is this?
Well, we are sending on for recommendation, and I think it would be, staff would probably be a better judge of which one it is. And I know Josh is here, but usually we get those answers from Director Personius. But regardless, this one passed 6-1. So, right, commissioners, would you like to, we discussed about a waiver. Would you like to work on a waiver? Would you like to look at the other 2 parcels? Commissioner Bartel.
I would be ready to leave this one and move on to the next, but again, if others want to do something else, I'd be okay with that.
I'm seeing no hands up. Can we go ahead and move on to the, it's the Taylor property? It's the next one. Okay. And we have no hands coming up to talk about it. How about we move on to the Whatcom Land Trust parcel? Commissioner McClendon.
Do we have to vote on each of these? I mean, just moving on doesn't
Yes, well,
doesn't
we
deal
don't,
with it.
we have at times not voted on some of them at all.
Okay, I can't remember.
It's been a long time, and then I think sometimes we voted to take no action where some
Well, we
other
don't-
times we just haven't done anything and
Yeah, and we have a
Just like-
staff recommendation of not recommended. We could just leave it at that.
yes, we can.
Okay,
May I ask a question?
I'm sorry, who is speaking?
Sorry, this is Tammy.
Yes, Tammy, go ahead.
I see that the other attendee has their hand up. Were you asking the attendees if they wanted to comment further? I don't believe we closed the public hearing.
We have not closed the public hearing yet.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, and thank you. Alex Jeffers, would you go ahead and speak?
Hi, yes. I just wanted to say thank you all for considering the application. Whatcom Land Trust has a long history of managing properties for public benefit, and this one would be of sort of no difference. So if you have any questions for me, I just wanted to make sure that you knew I was around and happy to answer any questions.
Okay. All right, thank you, Alex. And with that, I will close the public hearing. Thank you, Tammy, for the point of order. And hey, Commissioner Lund.
Thank you. Thank you for your time tonight.
Commissioner Lund, go ahead. I think you're still muted.
Sorry. I'm not sure. It looked like we had a pause and that there wasn't discussion about the Whatcom Land Trust parcel, but I would move that we accept staff's recommendation. Or I don't know if we need to do that, or if we don't vote, we're just accepting the staff position.
I believe what we're doing, if we vote, is we're making a recommendation to council to go ahead and pass that, to act on it.
Okay.
So I think it would be appropriate to take a motion to recommend it to council.
Well, I would like to motion that we accept the reclassification of the Whatcom Land Trust parcel as recommended by staff.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that one? Okay, seeing no discussion, Tammy, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Bartel,
Yes.
Commissioner Desmani,
Yes.
Commissioner Hanson,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Lund,
Yes.
Commissioner McClendon,
yes.
Commissioner Barton.
Yes.
That carries 7-0.
Okay. Commissioners, what would you like to do? Is there any unfinished business? Anything else? Are we ready to adjourn? Okay.
Sure.
Oh, just a moment. Commissioner Hanson, go ahead.
Did we have to consider the Semiahmoo request, or is that already another other one that was deemed not appropriate or adequate by staff?
They withdrew their request.
Oh, thanks.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, attendees. The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Good to see you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, Natalie.
Happy Turkey Day.
Good luck.
Yeah, have fun.
It's crazy.